certificate-based authentication, the second factor of that is RSA keys that we'll provide. We do internal PCI vulnerability scanning, internal and external penetration testing, external vulnerability scanning. We have a web application firewall. We have file integrity monitoring, log management, and log monitoring. So those are the technologies, and again, it's not just the technologies, it's the policies and procedures and the personnel. So at a high level, the processes, policies, and procedures that go into this solution, one is network segmentation, and I just want to talk about this one just for a little bit because this is very critical. So when you subscribe to our service, what we'll do is we'll sit down and we'll do essentially what we call a initial gap analysis. And part of that is the network segmentation. So what the goal is to really decrease your exposure of the cardholder data environment. So if, let's say, for instance, you had a flat network and you had an e-commerce site that's taking credit card information, but it's on the same network, it's not VLANed out with all the other workstations on the internal LAN. Every single workstation that is on that LAN is subject to the PCI DSS. Now you can see how that really can get out of control. So what you want to do is you want to really define the CDE, segment that off. So now we're only having to be compliant with maybe 3 or 4 machines versus 100 machines. So that is a very critical step in this whole process and one that we will help you with, and it's part of the service. It's not an extra charge. It's part of the service. So then the other policies and procedures, change control, something we are very diligent about. Even before we came out with this solution, everything is tracked in our ticketing system. We take it very seriously because of all the auditors and all the banking and institutions that we deal with. Event and log reviews, again, this is something that we've been doing. Alerts, escalation, and responses. This is what we do. We are a customer services organization. We are not just an alerting company. So again, this is something that we do very well, and we've just had to add in the extra controls in order to make sure that we're meeting every requirement of the PCI DSS. But I mean, really, at the heart of it all, it's our people. It's our security operation center experts who are taking actions on your behalf 24/7, 365. We are actively taking alerts. We are not just logging into a box and monitoring the health of the box. We are taking alerts as they come in. So again, this, Brian touched on it earlier. We're a 3-ring service. If you call into the SOC, you're not going to go into a queue. You get a live person within 2 to 3 rings. Again, something we've always been doing. This hasn't changed. It's just part of the service. So we talk about the deployment, and if you're familiar with our service, this hasn't changed. If you're not familiar, what we do is we ship an appliance out. We do a quick provisioning document. We ship the appliance out, and what happens is we push down the security configurations that we've set up with you, your security or your incident handling policy. And what we'll do is we will tune the system for a week or 2 for this solution, because we don't want to just start turning up firewalls and intrusion detection systems and taking things down. We take a very phased approach to this implementation. And with the PCI complete solution, it's a little bit more involved because we're bundling a lot of services. So there's going to be a lot of upfront information that we're going to work with you on to make sure that we've implemented this correctly. And so once that's installed, then our Security Operations Center experts are actively monitoring your system, taking alerts, same as we do today. And we also provide you access into your web portal so that you can run reports and see what we're actually doing and showing your bosses that here's our return on our investment. These guys are, they've blocked so many attacks, things of that nature. So none of that has changed. So you can always go to the Radar, what we call Radar, which is your web portal, to run your reports. Now, I talked a little bit earlier about virtualization. We can deploy this as a virtual solution in a, I will say, a private cloud. Now, for a multi-tenant solution or a public cloud, that's why we're waiting for the final version of version 2.0 of the PCI DSS to come out, because we want to make sure before we start implementing that solution, we want to make sure that we're meeting every single requirement. And in the new version, it's going into a lot more detail, so we have to take a look at that first before we can say that we can offer a multi-tenant solution. But just so you know, today we can offer a physical and a virtual or private cloud scenario, and the multi-tenant public cloud will be coming out shortly after we review the next version of the PCI DSS. And then, talking about reporting, again, this is something that you can, outside of PCI Complete, you can always go to your web portal and run reports. So what we've done for PCI Complete is we have developed reports for the individual requirements. As you know, we looked at the 12 requirements earlier. We have a report for every single requirement. Now, these are more geared towards the auditor. It's got all the meat in there, all the fine-grained detail, and then I'll also show you kind of what you would probably be looking at from a end-user perspective or a compliance officer to say, okay, where am I not being compliant? And you can drill down into that and then work with us to make sure that you get up to the PCI DSS standards and that you're in compliance. So I just want to give you an example as we talked about requirement 1, the firewall, maintaining a firewall. This is a sample report of that requirement. So as you can see, there's PCI requirement 1 audit report, and I'm going to scroll through this fairly slowly so it doesn't look bad on your guys' end. Requirement 1 name, firewall management, and as you scroll down, as you can see, as we talked about, having that network diagram to make sure that this is up to date. This is a PCI requirement, and we can't deviate from that. So pretty much every single report that we have is going to have this network diagram in there. And again, we're gonna review this with you as part of the service on a every 6-month basis to make sure that it's up to date. Now below that, you can see, okay, within the cardholder data environment, we have listed the primary function of each of those devices in the CDE. Again, another requirement of the PCI DSS. We list the authorized firewall administrators. And you keep scrolling down. We are now showing you all the firewall rules that are protecting that CDE. And below that, we will show you all the configuration changes that have occurred. And you can see there's a number off to the side. So you can see here for October 4th, this person wanted to make a change and added this particular rule. Well, this number over here is a ticket number, and that ticket number you can click on. Most of this is an example, and it's not hot linked. You can click on that ticket number, and you can go in and you can check the business reason why this rule was added. And again, another requirement of the PCI DSS. And it's all in one location. And that's another great thing about this solution, is that we don't have disparate technologies that report in one place over here and report in one place over there. It's all in one location, so that for your information or for auditors' information, they can go to one location and get the information that they need. And then at the end of every single report, we actually allow for the policies and procedures, and these are some of the things that we need the customer to fulfill, because for every customer it's going to be different, but they can put in their policies and procedures for a particular requirement and have it be part of this report, so they don't have a separate Word document, let's say. They can integrate it with these reports, and again, at the bottom, you can attach documents to these reports. So again, we're trying to keep all the reporting very, very centralized. So I was talking about, those are very